오늘 교수님을 모시고 들을 강연 제목은 Modern Reactor Physics Computation, Acceleration, and etc. 큰 박수로 전원준 교수님 모십니다.
Thank you very much for very nice introduction. Then I deserve. I decided to speak in English because not because my English is good, but because my Korean is poor. I think about 10 years or 15 years ago, I gave similar talk in the department. At that time, the title was, I don't know if anybody remembers, the title was Reactor Physics, Quadratics. Quadratics Reactor Physics. That was the title. And Professor Sanders came in, stepped in to listen. And then just a few minutes, he went away. I'm trying to finish this in 45 minutes. So I'll do my best. What is reactor physics and what's the current status and where it should go, at least in my view. First, I'd like to just state what is a nuclear reactor. This is long, but this is taken from my class notes. 301, page 1-8. So what is a nuclear reactor? In my view, it is an engineering device such that self-sustained fission chain reaction can occur in a controlled manner. So maybe the keyword is sustained and controlled manner. Why we do this? Because we like to utilize the nuclear energy. Now, nuclear energy is released in the form of kinetic energy, fission fragments, neutrons, and gamma rays, and so on during this chain reaction. This is going to be utilized. And what is reactor physics? Reactor physics, sometimes it is called reactor analysis. It's a discipline concerning determination of neutron distribution in a reactor core under various configurations and operating conditions. Normal operations, or sometimes severe transient, sometimes in accident conditions, by balancing the production of neutrons and loss of neutrons. Some of this is cut off. This is one of the textbooks, the very popular reactor type, PWR. So this core is our subject because neutrons are born and absorbed within this core. This is a top view. One of the fuel assemblies here from top view, and this is side. So this is rather heterogeneous, very heterogeneous, but fortunately this is rather structured. It's a repeated structure. It's not that really randomly distributed. So it has a structure. In that sense, we are a little bit fortunate to analyze this. Okay, this view is the current practice in reactor design analysis. This is 1/8 of the core because this symmetric. We only need to analyze this because the rest is the same. There's a two-step. The first step is you take one fuel assembly. Most of the assemblies are similar, but there are just few types, Max fuel or U fuel, like this. So then you consider it is reflective, which the boundary, there is no current. So this is one of the severe, one of the approximations which may be different from real situation. So later on, we have to do something on this to improve on this. Then this is isolated problem. Now this problem will be analyzed by transport calculation. Now transport theory calculation. Transport theory can handle heterogeneous geometry, but the energy has to be multi-grouped, in very fine groups, like in the case of LWR. In old days, it was 50 something, but these days it's getting increased, maybe more than 100 now, to get a better accuracy. So you do that on this problem, you solve transport calculation. You spend some significant amount of time. Using that result, you homogenize and condense to few groups, like two groups, typically two groups for LWRs. Then it will look like this, homogenized and represented by two group cross sections. And in the nodal methods, the one of the key important aspect of this, you have to introduce discontinuity factors. You have to introduce discontinuity from this node to neighboring nodes. So with that, you can then construct, symbolically you can construct this equivalent nodal models, nodal diffusion models. Okay? And from there, you solve this nodal diffusion equation to get average flux or average power, and also importantly, K effect. That's about, well, then you like to have more detailed power distribution. Then you go through another step, which is called reconstruction, so that you will have power distribution, more detailed power distribution within a single assembly. This is about it. This is the current practice in design, like KNF, for example, Westinghouse. But as I mentioned, this assumption and final cross-section to start with, this is not trivial. It involves a lot of heuristic or very clever ideas to come up with this from continuous energy cross-sections. Right? The cross-sections are continuous in energy by using a lot of ideas, a lot of heuristics. So if we say this another way, you're saying this, oh, this is very vague area. Coming up with this cross-section involves a lot of ad hoc assumptions. You may have heard about resonance shielding factors, for example. That's, in old days, a very good idea, but if you look at from modern view, that's very shaky practice. So anyway, that's the current status. Now, future, this is my personal view. What will be the physics calculation in the future? I would think it will be whole core calculation, not like a two-step in previous slide. If it is deterministic, it will be fine group and whole core, which is it will a lot of computer time, but fortunately we have better computer, and also people became more clever so that they developed more advanced numerical methods. So it can become feasible. If, again, this fine group cross-section to start to use, it will be still the same problem. So then another way is to use continuous energy Monte Carlo for the whole core. There will be the bottom line of calculational methods, but it will take a lot of time. So maybe in the future, probably people like to go to this way, but I think there's still a way to routine practice in design. On top of that, we should do depletion calculations, power into 38 changes, and this can be done online calculation, inline calculation. Nuclei density can be calculated at the same time, and within the same program of this calculation. That's what it meant by inline calculation. And also thermal hydrolysis feedback. Not only expert, but mostly operational transient. This could be done inline calculation if it is a very simple transient or simple case. But if it involves more expensive change, then it should be coupled. Neutronics code should be coupled to the thermal hydrolysis code. And there is a big activity in this code coupling, so-called code coupling. Thermal hydrolysis code and neutronics code coupled. And maybe beyond that, another activity is to code coupling with fuel rod behavior code. I forgot the name of it. That's maybe future. The code coupling wise is one future. Another one is either this way or this way. Okay? This way. Now, this is repeating what I usually do in the reactor physics class. But what is doing? What's the task in the analysis? The task is to determine K effective and fission power distribution. And also following the nuclear number densities. Now here I like to mention on this, what's the accuracy? What's the goal? Why we go to this instead of two-step approach in previous slide is to have better accuracy. Now, what kind of accuracy we are talking about? K effective, the errors in the calculation usually we like to be less than 0.1% accuracy. And power distribution in the assembly-wise, we like to be less than 1%. This is the user design calculation target. But to develop methods and writing the computer code, testing of the computer code, during that process, we usually like this to be 0.01%. And this could be 0.1%, one order higher than this and higher than this. Why is it so high? Okay, this is then, usually this is represented, this is called 10 PCM. Percent and milli. Percent is 0.01, milli is another one of 10. So 10 PCM accuracy is desired for benchmark calculation to test your methods. Okay. Then you may say, oh, this code can satisfy this in real calculation. The next question is, why so accurate? 0.1% or higher than that, right? 10 PCM. Why it should be so accurate? Well, this is point kinetics and in our way and so forth. Then this is K and the activity and neutron prompt lifetime. With that, in the kinetics behavior will be characterized by initial number density, initial number of neutrons with exponential omega 1t. Omega 1 is the first roots of the in our equation. Now, omega 1 versus what the reactivity. Now reactivity, if your reactivity is close to beta, which is 0.0065, then omega 1 will become very high, exponential omega 1t, that's the time behavior. And this is the case of a thermal reactor and fast reactor. So you will see as you go fast reactor, then omega 1 becomes very high. Now, even suppose you calculated your design with you're working on, configuration gives k equal to 1, or which is rho is 0. But if it has 1% error, if it has a 1% error, that means this k can be here or there. So if it gets close to beta values, real reactivity becomes close to beta, then you cannot control it, you cannot operate on this. So that's why this is the intrinsic reason why we should predict k so closely, like the 5 bits up to 5 bits lesson. Below the points. That's the origin of why we need so accurate calculations. So how should we do that? Well, this is transport equation. This is most rigorous. We cannot find any faults or overlook in writing this equation, as long as the fuel is solid. The fuel is not moved, as in user case. This is everything is continuous, position, energy, and direction of the neutrons. So this is the starting transport equation. Everything is continuous. So now if we have a nuclide, if you have good nuclear data and problem, the geometry description, then you have to solve this. You could solve this by Monte Carlo, but that's too much. Still, these days, too much. Not to mention the old days. So then people developed approximation or the discretization. The first discretization is in, this could be, maybe in the future we could solve this continuous transport equation by Monte Carlo, but I think it is still a long way to go. So people then very early started to write down the multi-group transport equation. So this is multi-group. So energy disappeared. Only the energies appeared as a parameter, group 1, 2, let's say several groups. What we need, there is a new look. Writing to this form is not trivial. Actually, if you look at very carefully, there is some couple of steps we have to. You have hands waiting to come to this. But this is the current equations we are doing. So, it's a transform methods, several methods, a lot of methods actually, and acceleration, how to solve this more quickly. But that's too much. So that people historically they developed the diffusion methods by, in addition to this, by postulating or using assumption of this. Current is proportional to gradient of the flux, which is plausible, and this proportionality constant. This is then more trouble making. If you can write down very good this coefficient, then this diffusion theory may be okay. But there is no good. There is no there is providing D is not easy. It's not trivial. Okay, so then people are more interested these days, especially method developers, code developers, are interested in this. Not anymore, not anymore. Maybe 10 years ago, up to 10 years ago, they were doing this. But these days, we are doing more on this. How to solve efficiently and more accurately on transport equation, multiple transport equations. So it will be using discrete ordinate method, SN method, or method of characteristics method. This is rather old method. This is, well, they are both old, but this method has been resurrected. This method is getting new interest, rekindled. The interest is rekindled on this method, on the multi-group transport equations. But it's slow. It's very slow. So we then have to provide, in addition to basic methods to solve this, and this part is called transport sweep. You start from one of the regions and follow the different direction, like sweep, and sweep, and sweep, and sweep, and sweep. So it's called sweep, transport sweep. And if you only do this, then the convergence is very slow. So therefore, you need to provide acceleration schemes, some kind of acceleration schemes. And so in the past, diffusion synthetic acceleration, the resulting equation looks like a diffusion equation, but it's not really a diffusion equation, but the form looks like diffusion equation. So therefore, it was called diffusion synthetic acceleration. It was originally developed by Kopp. I think he is the Professor Chambres student in UC Berkeley a long time ago. And then he tried to, well, it was only 1D, only 1D. So these are the Los Alamos people. They start to apply this and to 3D problems. So they do some improvement or corrections to 1D problems. Well, it's not perfect. And then the idea comes with the coarse mesh based acceleration. So what that means is this coarse mesh acceleration method is also old. For example, the first one is called coarse mesh rebalance. This is also as old as this. But this is becoming more interest these days because it's very convenient. Suppose, for example, this one fuel rod is very heterogeneous. I mean, the mesh structure is very complicated. Well, you can overlay on top of this, figuratively, you can overlay very regular structure, which is dotted line. You can choose like an orthogonal mesh, according to your choice. So in that sense, the resulting acceleration equations for acceleration becomes very structured, so that it can be much easier to solve. So that's why it has been leaking. The interest came back. And yeah, it's old. Now, Larson, this is one of the very key papers with his students, Cephas something, and Larson. He analyzed this. Oh, by the way, this has been, then people started to use this for many years. And once in a while, it causes problems. Then some problem doesn't converge. So then they asked this prime mathematician to look at. He's the prime mathematician. So he and his students analyzed this methods for its convergence, and it's called Fourier stability analysis. So it is a very milestone paper, relatively this and study this and apply these methods to other schemes. Now, then came coarse mesh finite difference method. which will be one of the topics in this talk, is by Smith. He's a diffusion guy, everybody knows. He's nodal method and so forth. And he come up with this method, which I'll be coming back, and only numerical experience. And he encounters problems. Sometimes he encounters problems. And my student, I think it's Park Chang-jae, and myself, and also another student, I think Lee Gil-soo. By that time, they learned this the method of Fourier analysis and applied to this. And before applying Fourier analysis, if you look at this equation, then I saw right away there is a problem before doing Fourier analysis. Okay? So I'll come back to this. So then, right away we came up with this idea, which is modification of this, and we apply Fourier analysis on both, and numerical experience supports the Fourier analysis results, which is much better. This is much better than this. Even with that, the convergence is slow. It converges, but it's slow when the mesh size is very large. If mesh size is small, then convergence is very fast. I think in this talk I should remove this one because we are up here. If we are up here, then it is always converged. But if it is thick, it's slow. Okay? But if we are here, then it doesn't converge. In some reason, it doesn't converge. Okay, so this is a very mathematician's expression of the whole process. Higher order equation means transport equation which involves transport sweep in very fine mesh. So this convergence, if we do only this, the convergence is very slow. So what we introduce in between is low order equation, which is using the result of this, then you basically collect several reasons result and write down this equation, which is like a finite difference diffusion, not diffusion, it's diffusion equation look like equation. But the these parameters are obtained by the result of transport sweep. So this is transport expression, using the transport result to come to this equation. So it's not diffusion. We should not say it's a diffusion equation, but the structure looks like diffusion equation. But the parameters are obtained from the result of transport. Okay? So it's much easier because it only involves scalar flux. Then once you have this, then you, with that, and combine with the scalar flux of this is angular flux. You add angular flux, all angles, then it will become scalar flux of this L plus 1.5. Then you use these two to come this. Then if you have this, then you can go back to this original transport sweep. Then you can repeat this, and hoping that the iteration converges much faster than only you do this. And that's what this is acceleration. Okay, then this. So what is CMR? Suppose this is one just as a choice. This is one field rock, but the transport sweep will be done using very fine meshes for accuracy, very fine meshes. In this fine mesh it can be irregular, sometimes circular, sometimes triangular, and also. With that, then the result is L plus 1.5. This 1.5. So suppose we are in this interface, the angular flux current going to this is modified to the current which is calculated from this by some factor. But this factor is a single value for this node. Similarly, for this, you use factor fj plus 1. So you're using one factor in one force mesh, and it applies to every direction. So it's a very crude rebalance. But because this is a very old method, that was at that time, even that was very, very revolutionary. Now, many years later, this is CMFD, which is proposed by Prof. Smith. What he postulates is that the current, this is net current, this is two force mesh, net current in this interface, this net current in this interface is proportional to this, the difference, which is like a Fick's law. This is the Fick's law. And another term, this is the term he added. Some constant and scalar flux, summation of the scalar flux of this region and this region. This is what he proposed and tested it. Maybe for many problems it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, but when I saw this expression, this is not good expression. Okay. So then I proposed this. Instead of net currents, I used partial currents. Okay. This is the same, only just 1.5 of this, 1.5. But because this partial current is going from here to the right, so I made it proportional to the scalar flux of this. And similarly for the flux, this incoming is proportional to the flux of this node, of this fourth node, which is more natural, right? Which is more right direction. But this one is, if you look at this one right away, you'll see, oh, this is uncomfortable. It's not, because the net current is proportional summation of this too, which is not, so it will cause problems in some cases, which in fact that was what they experienced. So it's very simple, the idea or fix or modification. And so I named it part P, partial current based, because these are partial current based. This is more physical. So you do Fourier analysis and all that of this. Okay, let's skip this. This is how to use it in comparison. Okay, this is the result of Fourier analysis. This is the message size, which is sigma p and cell size, the computational cell size. And this is spectral radius. If it is 1, it does not converge. The error stays. Even if you do iterations, the starting error continues. But if it's below, then error becomes smaller as iteration proceeds. If greater than 1, like this, greater than 1, then it diverges. It does not converge, it diverges. So it is very important. This is the result of Fourier analysis, so-called Larson and his students. So CMR, it shows like this. So in this region, it converges, very narrow range of cell size. CMR converges, but outside, where it diverges, but it converges very slowly. CMFD, which is Prof. Smith. So this is our result of Fourier analysis on CMFD. It is very fast when this is very small, but if it becomes large, then it diverges. Now, if you do this Fourier analysis on PCMFD, then which is the solid line. So everywhere is converging, but if you large, it's slow, but if it's small, it's very, very fast. So it's unconditionally stable. converge. So this is Fourier analysis result, and this is what we should expect because the starting formula. This starting formula is more comparable with the physics, which I don't think this is comparable with the physics. Well, they saw this paper. I think Diana, I believe Diana reads my every single paper, and I guess Ed Larson is in the same group, so maybe ask Larson or something. They play around this, and they still try to keep CMFD. So they play around. Okay, let me go back. I think this is the next step. Now this is arbitrary, you can choose. Then corresponding to the chosen value, this will be determined to preserve net current. Similarly, here this is arbitrary, the arbitrary chosen, but this will be determined to preserve partial current. Okay? So very similar structure. One is net current based, the other one is partial current based. Okay? That's the difference. So the first, the D hat, tilde, is arbitrary, you can choose. So then they play around, because it's arbitrary, they play around whether they're very good D hat, the tilde. So, and then they do the Fourier analysis, so that if you, okay, on CMFD, they choose optimal way of this D, so I think it's optimize D. Then they found the Fourier analysis like this, which is very similar to PCFD, so everywhere converging. So they did another additional work to come to use optimize D tilde. Okay? So they need some additional work to do that. So then, because in our case it's also arbitrary, so we did a similar thing. So we choose very clever way of this, and ours like this. So ours also improved. It's improved. But I think this is not important, because here is already very fast. If here is already very fast. Important thing is there shouldn't be any reason that unstable, but it's unstable. That's our, yeah. All right. We should do this. All right. Now, then you may wonder, oh, is there any way to improve this thick cell size, right? Because here you convert, but it's very slow. So naturally, we can ask: is there any way to improve this? Is there any way to reduce this down to much smaller than 1? And that's what we did. So multi-grid procedure comes in. The coarse mesh, we use 2 levels of coarse mesh. So it's also there is an applied mathematics, they did a lot. FDM, they did this in the applied mathematicians a lot, and they call multi-grid methods. And so we introduced this, and this is possible because we are using partial current. The information of partial current information is available in this PCMFD, but CMFD is not available. Only net current is available. So from net current to partial current, you need some kind of P1 approximation, whatever, you need some approximations. So I thought this is very fitting, partial PCMFD is very fitting to introduce multi-grid procedures. So then I need another coarse mesh, which we call intermediate mesh finite difference. for this purpose. So we have two course mesh here, one intermediate, the other one original course mesh. So that's why we said the two-level teachability. I have 50 minutes, right? I think we can make it. Well, this is intimidating flow chart. Okay, let me. This is the flow chart, like the transport calculation. First, what we do is on the right-hand side, scalar flux and K effective is assumed to start. Right? That's the initial guess. And then high order original transport sweep at MOC with using this. So you are then this is on the right hand side. You are finding on the left hand side by method of characteristics, and this is called transport sweep. This is most time consuming part because you have a lot of directions, a lot of little cells you have to sweep. Now what we do then, this part is lower the equation, is coarse mesh. So much less number of cells we have to deal with. But I said already, we have two grid. One is intermediate mesh, final difference. They are all partial current. And then this is a fixed source problem. K is already assumed or known from previous iteration. So then this one will be then on coarse mesh. We do eigenvalue calculation. This is whole core eigenvalue calculation. Eigenvalue calculation is always done on whole core because K is really the property of the whole thing. So then you have then by solving this, you have also interface current, partial current, I would say, partial current, because this partial current based. Partial currents are available. From there, you can have local F is P, in this case, the intermediate mesh FDM, final difference. Local by local, assembly by assembly and assembly. Okay? So you can do down this on a parallel calculation. So we do this several times, until K effective satisfies your criteria, or flux satisfies your input criteria. If they all converge, then you are done. So this is the scheme. So I'll show you from the benchmark problem what's the performance of this. Performance without doing this, just transport sweep, and with doing this, how many times of this. So I'll show you the result. Okay, now before that, this is 1D problem. We evaluated how the convergent spectral radius changes how many iteration